iterative function. Iteration function. Generally, when we have seen the Gauss-Jacobi method and the Gauss-Seidel method, where we have find out the approximate solutions, approximate solution of system of linear equations, we have the iteration metric, right? So it is also similar to like that one only, but here we have the approximate iteration function. Okay. So again, you might have understood now with the different kinds of iteration functions, phi, we will get different schemes. But the function phi must be defined. It should be well defined. It is not something like we come up with some arbitrary function and I will call it as an iteration function. That should be helpful to helpful to us in the process of finding the approximate solution. Okay. Now the question is, what happened to this sequence of approximate solutions? What happened to the sequence of approximate solutions? K runs from 0 to infinity. K runs from 0 to infinity. Okay. Suppose if the sequence of approximate solutions converging to a point, say y naught, that is nothing but, what do you mean by converging here? Limit as k tends to infinity, xk is y naught. That is nothing to say there, nothing but modulus of the distance between the approximate solution and the value y naught is less than epsilon, as small as you can, as small as you want. Okay. So this one, this is what we call the convergence of the approximate solution to the value y naught. Convergence of approximate solutions to the value y naught. Okay. However, here one should also remember here, this y naught is then whenever whatever the value it converges, this is what we call the exact root. This is what we call the exact root of the given problem for the given function f of x is equal to f of x. Okay. Now here, as k tends to infinity only, we are getting the y naught. But in practically, we cannot find out you cannot do the infinite number of iterations, whether it is manually or whether it is using some tools. In any way, we cannot find out the infinite number of iterations. So somewhere we have to stop it. Somewhere we have to stop it. Now, how to stop it? How to stop it? How to stop it? The stopping criteria. The stopping criteria. So when we are not finding the infinite number of approximate solutions, when we are stopping it after at some particular time, then what will be? There will be some error will be left out. Some error will be left out. So that is, let us say that epsilon k is nothing but the difference between the xk and the y naught. Absolute difference between the kth approximate solution and the exact solution. What we are expecting? We are expecting this error should go to 0. This error should converge to 0. This error should converge to 0. Okay. So that is the idea. So, but as we have already discussed, that we are not going to do infinite number of iterations. So we need to have some error tolerance. Error tolerance. Say epsilon is the error tolerance given to you. Maybe epsilon is equal to 10 to the power minus 2 or 10 to the power minus 3, which is given in advance to you. Okay, so find the approximate solution for the given equation with an error tolerance of epsilon is equal to 10 to the power minus 2. Then what we need to have? We need to have the stopping criteria should be the stopping criteria. The stopping criteria is what? The stopping criteria is, it can be two things. Suppose if modulus of xk minus y naught is less than epsilon, then stop. We can stop it. But what is y naught? Y naught is nothing but the exact solution. But if the exact solution is given, okay, fine. But in practical, if we know if we already know the exact solution, then why to do this infinite number of iterations? Okay, so in that case, when the exact solution is not given in the problem, then what we need to do? We need to evaluate the difference between the successive approximations. Suppose if the difference between the successive approximations is less than the epsilon, then stop it. Then stop. Okay. And not only that one, other than these two, there is another additional criteria is also there that depends on the problem, that depends on the situation which we are dealing with. So the another criteria is the modulus of f of exk is less than epsilon. That is means the value of the function at the point xk is strictly less than the epsilon. Then what we can do? We can stop the. We can stop. Okay, so in all these cases, what is the thing? In all these cases, xk is the kth approximate solution with the error tolerance epsilon. With an error tolerance epsilon. Okay, so this is the general process. Particularly here, when you use the scheme of the method, the scheme of the iterative methods here, xk plus 1 is equal to 5 times xk. So it is a matter of what is 5. What is the function? 5. And to evaluate the one approximate solution, what you need? You just need its previous approximate solution. Kth approximate solution only one approximate solution only you require. So this is also called the 1-point iteration method. This is also called the 1-point iteration method. 1-point iteration method means the iteration scheme looks like this one. Xk plus 1 is equal to pi of xk. Only you are going to use only one approximate solution. But there is another thing is also there. That is what generally called it as 2-point iteration method. 2-point iteration method means generally the k plus 1 the approximate solution will be evaluated based on the k the approximate solution and k minus 1 the approximate solution. So in this case, pi will be a one variable function, but in this case, pi is a two variable function. For the 1-point iteration method, one initial guess is fine. X naught. X naught is fine, but the 2-point iteration method, we should have two guesses, x naught and x1 we should have. For example, when I substitute k is equal to 0 here, what you will get here, k is equal to 0, x minus 1 you will get. So 0, it is not for k is equal to 0. This is for k is equal to 0, 1, 2 and so on. But this is for k is equal to 1, 2, 3 and so on. When you substitute k is equal to 1, what you will get? X2 is equal to pi of x1 comma x0. X2 is equal to pi of x1 comma x0. The minimum thing. So the minimum you should start with the two approximate solutions. That is what generally we call the 2-point iteration method. Okay. So in this syllabus we have 1-point iteration methods are also there and 2-point iteration method is also there. So this is the general process. So now we will go to the particular method. So far, any one of you have doubts regarding the general process? Regarding the general process, any one of you have doubts? Okay. So then we will move to the particular method. So let us take the first method that we are going to discuss is bisection method. What do you mean by bisection method? Though we have just, I have given the outline of the bisection method in yesterday class. We will repeat it again. So here, so the bisection method here, in this to apply this method for the expression or to solve the expression, f of x is equal to 0. This is the problem. F of x is equal to 0. Okay. So here, what are the hypotheses that is required? First thing, the very first thing, f must be continuous. Sorry. The first thing here, let me write it one by one here. One thing, we need to identify a comma b belongs to R such that f of a times f at b is less than 0. Means value of the product of the values of the function at the points a and b is strictly less than 0, not even equal to 0. Okay, that is what we need to evaluate. Not only that one, and the function f is continuous on a comma b. Continuous on a comma b. So which also includes the well-definedness, everything will come here. So these are the minimum things to start the bisection method. These are the minimum things to start the bisection method. Okay. Now, in the step 2, what do we need to find out? Suppose if A and B are already given in the problem itself, no problem. Fine, well and good. Okay. If it is not given, then we need to identify. We need to get 2 points. Okay. Anyway, now let us take what is the step 2? The step 2 is basically identify 2 points, and not only that one, let us take the approximate solution also. Identify a comma b, and f is continuous on a comma b, and also let x naught belongs to a comma b. I think for this it is not required. It is not that kind of iteration scheme, but okay. Okay. So for the bisection method, we don't need any initial guess and okay. Now let me write it this as I naught. Let me write it this as I naught. Okay. Now in the second step, what we need to find out, let me write it as step 0, means the initial step. In the initial step, we need to have this one and evaluate C1 is equal to A naught plus B naught by 2. Here, what is A naught, B naught? It is nothing but the A and B at the initial step. Okay. So midpoint we have evaluated. Once the midpoint is evaluated, now what we need to check? So check f of c1 means evaluate whether first thing we need to evaluate f of f, the value of f at the function at the point c1. Suppose if it is equal to 0, implies c1 x is equal to c1 is the root, is a root, is a root, which means we have obtained the root, which means stop the procedure. In fact, it will be an exact root. Okay. If not, this is 0. Suppose if not means f of c1 is not a non-zero number. Sorry, f of c1 is a non-zero number. F of c1 is a non-zero number, then what you need to check? You need to check f of a times f of c1 is less than 0 or not. Okay. So if it is less than 0, there may be two possibilities. Okay, there may be two possibilities. It may be less than 0 or it may be bigger than 0. Now you tell me, already f of a times f of b is less than 0 and f of a times f of c1 is also less than 0. So basically, which means what is going to happen here? F of a and f of c1 will have the opposite sign. Am I right? F of a into f of b is strictly less than 0, which means f of a is a non-zero number and f of b is a non-zero number. F of a times f of c1 is also strictly less than 0. Since f of a is already non-zero, so f of c1 is also non-zero. That is fine. But what it means here, the value of f at the point A and the value of f at the point C both have the opposite sign, right? Both have the opposite sign. So once we obtain such a point, like look at this one, A and B, initially we have the situation like this. Okay. So by intermediate value theorem, of course, we can give the assurance that there exists a root. But now what we are going to do, we are going to find out the midpoint. Okay, midpoint. In the first case, we have to search the full domain of length b minus a, this much. Now we have obtained some midpoint here, say that is c1 in this first case. C1 in this first case. Now what about this one? And what we came to know here by the graph, if you see, if you understand the graph, if you see f of c1, f of f at a and f at c both have same sign. Same sign means it will be bigger than 0. So it will be, we need to come to this side. It is not satisfying. It is not satisfying, which means what? Obviously, if it is no, then what will happen here? Obviously, f of f at b times f at c1 will be less than 0. If it's not happening, then it will happen by default. This is c1. Okay. So yeah, that is what you can see it here. C1 and the value of b, so both have the opposite signs. If both have the opposite signs, which means by intermediate value theorem, we can give the assurance that the root there is a root belongs to this one. So instead of checking the complete domain from A to B, now it is enough to check the domain C to B, which is exactly what? Which is the distance is reduced, in fact, half. C1 is the midpoint. So instead of checking the entire domain, it is enough to check the half domain. So in that way, what we are doing, we are reducing the domain in which we are searching for a root. Okay. Oh, suppose if it is not happening, then in the next step, that is I2. In the next step, the I2 will be become what? That is I0, right? Oh, okay. Now I think I1. I1 will become what? I1 will be, in the no case, we need to start with the C1, comma, C1, and what about this one? Okay. And in the next case, if no, as in A1 is equal to C1 and B1 is equal to B. So I1 is equal to A1 comma B1. But suppose if it is yes, suppose if it is yes in the sense you take this function A, B, this is the function and this is the midpoint C1. The value of f at A and the value of f at B both have opposite signs. So that is the reason the product is strictly less than 0. Now instead of, now we can exclude this part. Here we can exclude this part by intermediate value theorem. Okay. So we'll come to this one. Now in this case, what will happen? The initial point of the domain will be A and the end point of the domain in the next case will be C. So in this case, I1 will be what? In this case, I1 will be A1 comma B1. In this case, I1 will be A1 comma B1. So now step 1. Now come here. Now here in the first step, we are in the step 0. In the beginning, we are interested in finding the solution, solving this function in the domain in the interval a comma b, that is nothing but a naught comma b naught. Okay. Now here step 1, what actually we are doing, we have to solve the fx is equal to 0 again, but now this time the domain is a1 comma b1. But what about what is the advantage? What is the advantage we have received here? Here the distance between this one is less than, in fact not less than, is equal to 1 by 2 times the distance between a minus b. Length became half, right? Okay. Now we need to start the same procedure by considering this interval a1 comma b1. That is nothing but a1 comma c1, this midpoint. So b1 will be actually one of the endpoint will be remain the same, either a or b. As you can see here, whether it is, if it is yes, then the initial end by a will be remains the same. If it is no, b will be remains the same. So only one of the endpoint will change, whether it is the initial point or whether it is the final point. That is what we need to check based on this condition. Basically, what is the basic idea? The basic idea is we should be always in subintervals such that the value of the function at the endpoints of the subintervals should be opposite in sign. Okay. Now, so again the same procedure starts now. Now what we need to check? Let us evaluate C2 is equal to A1 plus B1 by 2. Now check f of C2 is equal to 0. Go means yes. Yes means stop. And C2 is the root. C2 is the exact root. Then come down. Come down means no, if it is not happening. Then there are two options. Then check f of A1 times f of C2 is less than 0. Now, two possibilities may come. It may be yes, it may be no. If it is yes, yes. If it is yes, what is the I2? I2 will be A1, A2, comma B2, where A2 is nothing but A1 and B2 is nothing but C2. Why? Because already it have opposite sign. So we should be in this subinterval itself, A1 to C2. If it is no means, when it is no, which obviously also implies f at B1 times f at C2 is bigger than 0. Sorry, it will be less than 0. So in this case, what we need to have, In this case, I2 will become what? I2 will be C2, A2, B2 again, but here A2 is nothing but C2, B2 is nothing but B1. Okay. Yeah. So now another interval came. Now I2 came. Once I2 came, you have to proceed for the another step. This is how you need to proceed. Okay. But what is the stopping criteria? At every iteration, we should have the stopping criteria also should be there, right? What is the stopping criteria? The stopping criteria should be here. Here we have approximated one solution, that is what is called the C0, Cn, Ck in this one. Okay. What you can check? You can also check the stopping criteria if f of C1, modulus of f of C1 is less than epsilon, stop. Or if modulus of approximate solution in this iteration is C1 minus the previous iteration is let us assume y0 is the exact solution and check if it is less than epsilon, stop. That depends on the problem. That depends on the problem. It is not necessary that you need to check all the three conditions. Okay, that depends. It will be given. Okay, what is the stopping criteria? Stopping criteria will be given. Okay, and if nothing is given, then what you need to check? You need to check the difference between the successive approximations. The difference between the successive approximations, that is C2 minus C1. If it is less than epsilon, stop. Okay, so whenever modulus of Ck plus 1 minus Ck is less than epsilon, stop the bisection method. Stop the bisection method, and you can give what is called the Ck plus 1 as the approximate solution. Okay, not only that, yeah, I think that is okay. Whether everyone understood the procedure, shall we go for a problem exercise now? Shall we go for some exercise now? Yeah. Okay. Now, let us take the example. Find the root of an equation. Find the root of an equation x cube minus 5x plus 1 is equal to 0. We need to solve this equation. Okay, that's all. Nothing else is given. Nothing else is given. Okay, so I may be asking here using bisection method. Using bisection method, one thing, the first one is perform 4 iterations. Second problem, this is the main one, the sub question. Perform 4 iterations. 2. Find the root with error tolerance. Epsilon is equal to 10 to the power minus 1. Epsilon is equal to 10 to the power minus 2. Okay. Now, first thing, what we need to come up with, what we need to start with here, given f of x is equal to x cube minus 5x plus 1. We need to solve this one. F of x is equal to 0. Okay. First thing, we need to identify 2 points A and B such that the value of the function at both the points will have opposite sign, and the f must be continuous in that interval. So my guess is I'm going to take A is equal to 0 and B is equal to 1. Why? Because f at A, that is f at 0 is equal to 1, which is positive, and f at B, that is 1. So 1 minus 5, so that will be minus 3, that is negative, and hence f at A times f at B is less than 0. So this A and B works. Not only that, f is continuous on A comma B, 0 to 1, the interval 0 to 1. Why? Because it is a polynomial and all the polynomials are continuous functions. All the polynomials are continuous functions. Okay. So initially I am starting with here a0 is equal to 0, b0 is equal to 1, a0 is equal to 1, b0 is equal to 1. This may be iteration 1. A0 is equal to 0, b0 is equal to 1. What we need to evaluate? We need to evaluate the midpoint. C1 is equal to midpoint 0 plus 1 by 2, so that is 1 by 2. Now, what is the checking grade? What is the condition we need to check? We need to check f at C1, that is f at 1 by 2. Could you please evaluate and give me what is f at 1 by 2? And here see, it is 0.5. Remember that. So in all our problems, once for the entire semester, I am telling here, we are going to use 4 decimal places. The approximation should be given up to 4 decimal places, not less than that, not more than that. If it is 0.5, that's all. It is an exact thing. So fine. So f of minus 1 by 2 is not minus 11 by 18, Krishna Yadav. So it should be minus what exactly it is. 11 by 18 means with the decimals. Don't give me the fractions. Don't give me the fractions. Give me the decimal points. Minus 1.375. Minus 1.375. Okay. Minus 1.375. What about this minus 1.375? This is less than 0. If it is equal to 0, then we can say that C1 is the root. But if it is less than 0, right? So now what we need to check, since f at A and f at C1, f at A is positive and f at C1 is negative. So the product is negative. So in this case, now we need to start the iteration 2. So iteration 2. What is I2? I2 will be given by f at A, that is 1. By the way, yeah, 1 comma. What is C1? C1 is 1 by 2. Now again, what we need to check? So this is nothing but this is nothing but A1 comma B1. This is nothing but A1 comma B1. So whatever the case it is here, what we need to check here, the midpoint C2. C2 is 1 plus 1 by 2 by 2. Means 1 plus basically 0.5 upon 2. Give me the C2. 0.25. Okay. After evaluating the C2, what you need to check? Evaluate what is f of C2. What is f of C2? What is f of C2? What is the value of f at C2? 0.25. Come on, you should give. Minus 0.2344, which is again negative, which is not equal to 0. Nearby, that is what I said. We are going to approximate. Sorry, here I2 is sorry, I2 is 0. A is 0 only na in the previous case here. Yeah. F of A is 0. A is equal to 0, na? 0 to 1 by 2. Okay. So now what? Yeah. So now as you can see, f at 0 is 1, that is positive. F at 0 is 1, that is positive. And f at C2 is 0.25, that is negative. So what is this time? This time the next interval will be what? The next interval will be I3 will be 0, comma 0.25. 0, comma 0.25. Now we need to evaluate what is so that is iteration 2 is also over. So here where we start with the iteration 3. So in the iteration 3, what is the midpoint? Midpoint C3 is 0 plus 0.25 upon 2. So that is 0.125. Okay. Now evaluate value of f at C3 and give me the value. Zero 0.3770, which is a strictly bigger than the 0. Okay. Now as you can see that here. Now who will tell what is the interval? Since it is non-zero number, C3 is not the root. But depending on the sign, we need to come up with the something called the new subinterval. What is the subinterval for the next iteration? Can anyone? Can anyone? It is 0.125, comma 0.25. Why? Because at 0.25, C3 it is a positive quantity, and if you consider here 0 to 0 to 0 to 0, but f at 0 is 1, f at 0 is bigger, it is also positive, and f at C3 is also positive. So if the endpoints, both of them are having the same sign, then the subinterval is not going to help us. You should choose such a subinterval so that the value of the function at the endpoints is have the opposite sign. You look at f at this point. This is nothing but C2, right? So C2 is 0.25. F at this point is negative, and f at C3 is positive. So this time the iteration becomes so the interval becomes 0.125, comma 0.25. 0.25. Now in this one, what is the midpoint now? What is C4 here? C4 is 0.125 plus 0.25 upon 2. Can you give me what is the midpoint? 0.1875. So what we need to evaluate? F at C4. What is F at C4? What is the value of F at C4? Zero point 0.069. What about 0.069? It is a positive number. Now in this interval, whatever the value of f at this point, C3, it is also a positive. It is a negative. So in the next subinterval, so the question is asked in the first one, the first part, perform 4 iterations. Okay, 4 iterations we have performed. Now what is the approximate solution that you will give? What is the approximate solution that we should give? The approximate solution is now the approximate solution is what we need to check out, what we need to do here. Here at the so okay, let me write it here. This is 0.125 and this is 0.25 and this is the midpoint, and the midpoint we have evaluated. Midpoint, it is bigger than 0. That is fine. Now what is the approximate solution we will give? Value at this point, function value at the initial point is positive. Function value at the end point of the interval is negative, and function value at the midpoint is positive. Then what is the approximate solution we will give? Approximate solution we will give the midpoint of the last subinterval. The midpoint of the last subinterval, that is nothing but 1/2 times 0.1875 plus 0.25. Whatever it comes, that is the approximate solution after 4 iterations of the bisection method. Okay. Suppose here, if the same situation, if the same problem given with the second hypothesis, that is with the error tolerance epsilon is equal to 10 to the power minus 1, we need to continue. But up to what? Up to what we should continue? Up to what we should continue? Up to the number of iterations Ck plus 1 minus Ck is less than 10 to the power minus 1. It's less than 10 to the power minus 1. Up to this much, we should continue. Okay. For example, here, what is C4 minus C3? C4 minus C3 is bigger than 10 to the power 0.1. So I think we need to continue further. This is what? This is what is C4? Yeah, sorry. This is C4 and this is C3. What is the difference between C4 and C3? What is the difference between the C4 and C3? C4 minus C3 is equal to 0.0 something, some 6 is there. Oh, I think it is strictly less than 0.1 only, no? It is strictly less than 0.1 only, no? Yeah, I think then we can stop it here. Even if it is the after the 4 iterations, we can stop it. Okay, so that is about the bisection method. But there is also, when the second problem is given, when the error tolerance is given, we can estimate how many number of steps required. How many number of steps required when epsilon is given. For example, in the nth iteration, in the first iteration, after the first iteration, what about the length of the subinterval? By 2. After the second iteration, 1 more by 2 off. After the third iteration, by 2. After the fourth iteration, by 2. After the fifth iteration, by 2. So basically, after n iterations, what about the length of the interval you will be dealing with? That will be b minus a upon 2 to the power n. So the solution will be here. The solution will be here. So from the bigger interval, we are making subinterval, something somehow, but the length of the subinterval is less than this one. Okay, length of the subinterval is nth subinterval is nothing but the b minus a upon 2 to the power n. Suppose if it is less than the epsilon, the error tolerance. Suppose if it is less than the epsilon, that is the error tolerance. That's all. Where n is the number of required number of required steps, number of required iterations. So what you can do here, it can be rearranged. So b minus a upon epsilon, which is less than 2 to the power n. Apply logarithm on both the sides. So log of b minus a minus log epsilon is less than n times log 2. So n should be bigger than the log of b minus a minus log of epsilon upon log of 2. Since n should be an integer, positive integer. Why? Because n is the number of iterations. What you can take? You can take the next integer. Next integer you can take it. Okay. So with the help of this formula, we can predict the number of iterations required to get the approximate solution with the respective error tolerance. Okay, so that is where I will stop the section. So tomorrow we will be discussing another method. Okay, so now I am giving one exercise. All of you should come with the solution. F of x is equal to x into e to the power x minus 1, and the interval is also I am giving 0 to 1. 0 to 1. Find up to 5 iterations. 5 iterations bisection method. Okay, so it is an exercise to everyone. So you come up with the solution. I may ask any one of you. Okay, right? Thank you all. I will close the section here. Have a great day.